I'm here in Jerusalem, a city on edge. It is early Friday here, a holy day of prayer for Muslims. People here are waiting and watching what will happen next after Donald Trump changed the decades-long course of U.S. policy, recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Now, he made it clear his administration is still committed to talks, but today, not many seem to have heard that caveat. In the West Bank, this is the conversation, the crack of gunfire, the caustic smoke of burning tires. Battalions of Israeli soldiers had been moved in, were bracing for this. There were some injuries today, mostly minor, but it's really the prospects of communication that are really hurting now. A senior official with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas says a long-scheduled meeting with the U.S. Vice President is now off. Mike Pence is, quote, unwelcome. But many Israelis don't feel a pressing need for difficult talks either. The U.S. has moved decidedly into their corner. This is a victory.
We're very excited. I think it's a fantastic event.
Historic, definitely historic.
But one side's victory is almost always another's humiliation, and that leads some Palestinians to retreat and some to lash out. Hamas wants a full-scale uprising. Fatah still craves diplomacy. In the middle, people who have no idea what is coming now. Derek Stoffel spent the day out there watching.
The city at the center of a global storm today was calm. Many shops shut and streets of the old city nearly empty. Palestinian leaders called for a general strike, and people listened. So it fell to Palestinians who live in the Israeli-occupied West Bank to hit the streets. Hundreds demonstrated in Ramallah, including 16-year-old Tala Anati.
We're so angry today, and all of the Palestinians stopped their work, didn't go to schools, just to prove the world that we are here, and we will keep going, and we will not stop.
These demonstrators want to establish the capital of their future state in East Jerusalem. They worry that the declaration made by the United States will harm that effort. The demonstrators have marched from the center of Ramallah here to the edge of town, where some of the young men in the group have engaged in clashes with the Israeli security forces. The Palestinians threw stones. Israeli police responded with tear gas and rubber bullets. Watching it all, Basil Razik, a Palestinian Canadian, who says these demonstrations are the only way his people can have their voices heard.
Because our government it's too weak, and we don't have parliament to send our message to the world, and this is let's say the street message.
At times, that message was interrupted. So, tear gas has just been fired in this direction here. You can see the crowds running this way. These demonstrations, according to the Palestinians, are just the beginning. Derek Stoffel, CBC News, Ramallah.
This city, Jerusalem, home to so many religions, has had this conversation about coexistence in one form or another for millennia. It's rarely, if ever, been easy, and it just got a lot worse. Outside the gates to the old city, the whole crisis in one swift, small spat. To Palestinians chanting about being born to be free and an Arab Jerusalem, along comes a group of Israelis getting in their faces. There is no Palestine, the Israelis tell them. Where these two groups meet, there's no middle ground. For them, Jerusalem is all or nothing. Forget sharing. Sharing has always been a stretch here. Among Christians, the infighting at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre has always been so acute that for 7 centuries, the one key to the church has been held by the same few Muslim families. No one else. Waji Niseba has been opening and closing these doors for decades. His family has a legacy of cooperation and smoothing the roughest of waters, working closely with Israeli officials too, but navigating yesterday's announcement, though, floors him.
We used to believe America tried to making peace in the Middle East, as I always be hearing. Now they're coming from our back and they hitting us.
He says he had a sense about Donald Trump when the president visited the church not long ago. An odd thing happened.
We show him the key of the church. He look at the key of the church, then he take it and he look at it and he put it in his pocket. The Greek patriarch and me, I said, please give it back. And he looking, what? He thought that we give it to him as souvenir. We're surprised. He thought that everything is a gift.
Apropos of nothing, really, he says, except he always had a feeling other politicians and dignitaries understood the sensitivity of this city and this place. He wasn't sure about Trump. His daughter, carrying the family tradition of cooperating, just wants people to stay calm now. She says her friends don't agree with her.
They think that everybody should go out and fight and go to the Al-Aqsa Mosque tomorrow and be in the streets.
The future is very sad because we're having new leaders. They are fanatic.
But do you think people should take to the streets tomorrow? Or do you think they should...
Everybody should hearing the voice of the Palestinian and the Muslims in the world. Because you can't shutting your mouth. At least you should talk.
Where will he be tomorrow? Right there at the Al-Aqsa Mosque above the bright, bustling western wall where Jews pray. The mosque is dark now, lights off and mourning, it said. Tomorrow, it will look very different. All this talk of days of rage, of launching another uprising, is unfolding as Israelis and Palestinians approach a milestone, the 30th anniversary tomorrow of what's known as the First Intifada. In December of 1987, Palestinian youth across the territories took to the streets, facing armed Israeli soldiers with rocks. No one expected it. Even the PLO was blindsided, scrambling to claim the uprising as its own. As one former Israeli foreign minister at the time put it,
the despair and the frustration are homegrown, and they result chiefly from the feeling, perhaps for the first time, that every other avenue of grievance and protest and demonstration is closed.
Protesters died by the day, and the spectacle changed Israel. It lasted until 1991.
We come to Madrid on a mission of hope.
When political pressure led to a peace conference in Madrid. The Second Intifada started in 2000, and hardcore militants quickly seized control of it. It became a savage cycle of suicide bombs and military operations that killed hundreds of Israelis, thousands of Palestinians, before it faded in 2005. Other eruptions of protest and violence since have laid claims to the mantle of an intifada, but so far, none have had the scale or staying power.